Hey there, let's go ahead and review our polynomial operations, make sure that we are super prepared for this test today. So we're going to simplify each of these items completely. When I look at number one, I see two sets of parentheses that are being multiplied together. So I need to take this binomial and multiply it by a trinomial. So my first term, 7n times n squared, multiply the coefficients. So that's 7 times the invisible 1 coefficient makes 7. And n times n squared, when you multiply your bases, remember to add your exponents. So my invisible 1 exponent plus my 2 now makes this an n to the 3. Next term, 7n times negative 4n. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28. And that n times n, we're going to take the invisible exponent 1 times invisible exponent 1, make that n to the 2, right? Because when you multiply the bases, we add those 1 exponents. And 7n times negative 6. So the 7 times negative 6 makes it negative 42. N without anything else to multiply by stays n. Now, for my next term, that negative 3 in the binomial is going to multiply by n squared. Negative 3n squared, no numbers to multiply together because my negative 3 is times a 1 exponent. And then no other variables to multiply by, so that'll stay the same. Then my negative 3 times the negative 4n makes positive 12n. And then my negative 3 times negative 6 is positive 18. We're going to go ahead and combine like terms wherever we can. So negative 28n squared and negative 3n squared. Add those and we get negative 31n squared. I also see that I've got a negative 42n and a positive 12n. Add those. This is a negative 30n. And keep everything else. That 7n to the third did not have any like terms. That positive 18 did not have any other like terms. Here is our completely multiplied and simplified polynomial. Now, as we look at number 2, this is a subtraction problem, a binomial minus a trinomial. With that subtraction, remember, we're going to think about it as a negative 1, and we're going to distribute that negative 1 through to every term in the next parentheses behind it. So negative 1 times 6y makes negative 6y. Negative 1 times y to the third makes negative y to the third. Negative 1 times negative 2y to the fourth is positive 2y to the fourth. We're going to bring that first set of parentheses along. 3y to the fourth minus 5y, nothing happened to it yet. Now we are ready to combine some like terms. And anything with a y to the fourth can add with other terms y to the fourth. So this is going to be adding coefficients only. 3 plus positive 2 makes that 5y to the fourth. I look for anything that has y to the third. Just that one term stays the same, negative y to the third. And then I catch where I have a y and a y, negative 5y and negative 6y. Combine those makes a negative 11y. There we are, completely simplified for us. So we move on to number 3 in this division problem. My first term, 36y to the fifth, divided by 9r squared. So we're going to divide our coefficients. 36 divided by 4, excuse me. So here we are in a division problem with my first term. I'm doing 36 divided by 9. For my coefficients, that gives me 4. And when I divide my variables, I subtract my exponents. So 5 exponent minus 2 exponent now puts us at r to the third. Next term, I've got this positive 18 r to the fourth divided by that 9r squared, so positive 18 divided by 9 for my coefficients makes it positive 2. R to the fourth divided by the r squared, subtract the exponents when we divide variables. 4 minus 2 makes it 2. The last term, negative 45 r to the third in division. So negative 45 divided by 9 makes negative 5. And then r to the third divided by r squared. When we divide, subtract those exponents. So this is r to the first, and that can be an invisible exponent for us. No like terms to combine. That is our polynomial. Now, number 4 wants us to go ahead and add a trinomial with a trinomial. Just make sure that you're doing that in standard form so that you have your exponents from high to low. So an 8v to the 5 can add on with any other v's to the 5. This is a negative invisible 1, so I'm doing 8 plus negative 1. That's 7v to the 5. Then I continue on, look at a v to the 4th, and it has a matching v to the 4th, so we'll do a 9 plus a negative 8, and that's going to be a positive 1. 1 is the invisible coefficient, so I can do that just as v to the 4th. And I see that I have a negative 12v, and we're adding on a 7v as its like term, so negative 12 plus 7 makes negative 5 with the same v. Nobody else has a like term to combine. Here's where our answer stays. Now check out this number 5. We've got one term outside of the polynomials and a trinomial inside. We are going to distribute. So there's lots of variables going on here. Take it slow, stay organized. So my 4 coefficient times my 6 coefficient makes it 24. And then as we continue multiplying, my variables get multiplied, my exponents get added. So remember that this bg squared is actually a b to the invisible 1 with a g squared. So my b times my b to the 3rd is going to make me think exponents 1 plus 3 puts it at b to the 4. And g squared times g, this is doing g squared times g to the invisible 1. 2 plus 1 on my exponents now makes this g to the 3. Next, I take it and multiply to my second term. So coefficients 4 times positive 7 makes positive 28. B to the 1 times g squared. So I add my 1 plus my 2 exponent. This is now b to the 3. And g squared times g squared. Add my exponents 2 plus 2, g to the 4. Third term gets to multiply. So 4 times negative 9 makes negative 36. B times b, and again, this is a b to the invisible 1, so invisible 1 plus invisible 1 exponent makes that b to the 2. And now my g squared times my g to the 5, I'm going to add my exponents. 2 plus 5 makes this g to the 7. There's no other like terms in here. That's going to be our final answer. Okay, lastly, number 6. I've got this binomial that is squared. Remember, when you square something, you have to write it twice. Okay, absolutely. Anything that is squared, you have to write it twice, because that's going to show you all the steps for your multiplication. So my 5h is going to distribute through to the 5h in next parentheses. That's 25h squared. Then my 5h multiplies to the negative 12. This is going to be negative 60h. Then my negative 12, got to use that other term, it needs a term to distribute, right? This is why it's called a double distribute problem. The 5h did its distribution. Now I got to double up on that, and the negative 12 is going to have to distribute. So negative 12 times 5h for negative 60h, and that negative 12 times negative 12 for a positive 144. We're going to go ahead and combine like terms. I happen to have a negative 60h and a negative 60h. That's negative 120h, but I also keep the positive 144. Bring it down, it doesn't have like terms. Keep that 25h squared. It doesn't have any like terms with us. So this is our simplified answer. Hope you're feeling so much more confident for these polynomial operations. Don't worry, stay calm. You're going to do awesome on your test.